Whom do we seek, Matt?
Kalis.
How do we find him?
Together.
Give us light to see.
Forever.
Will he hide from us always?
Never. I feel like that prayer is cheesier in English.
It is.
Welcome to the Star Trek Universe Podcast. My name is Matthew Carroll.
I'm David C. Robertson.
Welcome, my Klingon brother.
Kapla, sir.
I just Discovery hits its stride this back half of the season. I feel like I mentioned it last episode, but this just tooling around the. Hold on, spoiler alert! We're going to talk about episode 9. I think it's 9.
No,
10.
Episode 10. Despite yourself.
I watched the wrong one. No, I'm just kidding. I watched episode 9 again and didn't notice.
That's not good for Discovery.
Hey, everybody. This is Matt cutting in because I say some things in this episode that might have knowledge of other future season 1 episodes. We discussed it on the cast. Some of it may or may not be spoilers, because some of it's stuff you can assume at this point, but aren't as explicitly said. So, if you haven't seen the rest of the season and you're super averse to spoilers, beware. I mentioned this last episode, but this starts to feel so much like the Star Trek universe of the books that I read as a young person. Back when I still knew how to read.
Right.
Before everything was 140 characters or less or whatever, you know?
Yeah. I believe it was 1931.
There's just this action-adventure element to Star Trek that isn't always present on the screen. I feel like it's more present in the movies than it is on the TV shows, because often the TV shows are trying to tell these little morality plays, which I also enjoy. But when these books had more time to develop these sort of sweeping storylines, we got a lot more action-adventure stories, and I love this stuff. And I love the balance. They're trying to really strike a balance between still telling a morality tale, still talking about characters, still talking about big concepts, but letting it be an action-adventure story. And I think that's another balance that I think Star Trek needs to strike, and it is doing it well in this last half of the season.
Yeah. So the summary is, with the Discovery spore drive taking them in the mirror universe and Lieutenant Stamets completely incapacitated, the crew discovers the horrors of the Terran Empire and must masquerade as their counterparts to find a way home. Lieutenant Tyler discovers there may be more to his post-traumatic stress disorder than just remembering torture at the hands of the Klingons. I absolutely love. Maybe, absolutely more than time travel. I love alternate universe stories. I love parallel realities.
I do too.
And I love the mirror universe episodes of Star Trek. Probably more as a general rule.
They're just exciting. I mean, they're. As I said, they're action-adventure stories. They're putting they're the closest we get to just straight-up villainy in the Star Trek universe is just these opposite versions of our heroes, and that's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's always fun to see these guys play. I don't want to say something other than milquetoast, but.
Well, I think that's okay to say. I think that we've discussed it, man. Star Trek has a problem with watering down all the characters so that they're all one homogenous federation. And seeing the Terran Empire do something totally different is fun to see. I don't think there's anything wrong with acknowledging that. Now, Star Trek does a lot. It's what I was just saying. It's the whole, morality play aspect of Star Trek is really intellectually pleasing to me. But the action-adventure element is what I have fun with. And I think these episodes are just, like, generally more action-adventure than they are morality play. But I still think they did a good job with this episode. Just having Burnham... The biggest moment on this episode for me is when Burnham has to fight Connor. When Burnham has to kill Connor. It is so emotional. It's, like, incredibly exciting. It's a fun fight scene when she's clever enough to kick out the gravity generator or whatever.
Yes.
Like, that's just her using her environment, her outwitting Connor, because he's bigger, he's probably stronger, and he gets the jump on her, but she still uses her intelligence to get out of the situation by using her environment. I loved that. And then to watch her face as she realizes she's now killed. She feels responsible for this man's death in both universes. Like, she's traveling the multiverse, murdering Connors. Like, she's like a fucking Terminator.
She's Jet Li in the One.
Oh, man.
Which, I love that movie, by the way. I've seen it way too many times.
Oh, yeah? I remember liking it, but I've only seen it once, I think.
But yeah, like, I think, like, they did such a really good job, and I really hand it to Green for really pulling that off, because that was all her. When she sees him, when she's watching him on that view screen, and she gets choked up, and she's like, he died in our universe. Like, yeah. Because I don't think we've ever seen him before. If we have...
Oh, yeah, we did in the first episode.
It wasn't for long, though.
No. But it was... He was the helmsman in the first episode, or the ops officer in the first episode. And what a lot of and I think a few of the crew member on the Shinzo were from the first episode.
Right. I'm just saying we didn't really, like... I assumed we saw him. I don't remember him, but that's my point. Like, right. You don't remember him.
Yeah, he's not a big deal in the show. But the face, that face was that acting there was a really great piece. But the part that kills me is when she actually stabs him and pushes him up against the door. Her face, she gets this empathy on her face as she's seeing the like light drain out of his eyes, the empathy. But then the scene does something even more amazing. It turns to badass when the door slides open and she just pushes her replacement captain out and he just falls onto the deck around in front of the crew. Like, it makes her look like such a badass. And it's not what she intended to do, but it is such a beautiful, like, series of moments. A great fight scene leading to a wonderfully powerful emotional moment, emotionally painful moment, then leading to, like, a badass reveal to the crew. Like, it's just such a wonderful sequence.
Yes, I completely agree. And, by the way, speaking of painful moments, this is, like, the most painful I've ever seen an Agonizer booth look.
Oh, yes. Well, I thought you were going a different way. Yeah, for sure, because this is them updating that old Agonizer booth idea with I guess better acting and better special effects. It's pretty cool. I liked that they didn't change the Agonizer booth to something different. They just went with, like, it's an Agonizer booth, but it's going to be updated to look cooler. I was cool with that. What I thought you were going painful moments. I think the most painful moment on the series is in this episode. When Culver's neck is snapped.
Oh, I was okay with it.
Oh, man, I wasn't.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh, gosh, you heartless bastard.
I was kidding.
No, that when Culver dies is one of the most shocking and unexpected and painful deaths I've ever seen on Star Trek.
He never listens to Stamets.
He doesn't. He thinks Stamets is the enemy is here. The enemy is here.
Be careful. Everything with Stamets. It's the palace.
What did you take the palace to mean? His brain? Stay out of the palace. Is that from the future?
I specifically think he's talking about the Emperor's Palace.
Okay, which is knowledge we shouldn't have yet, but yeah. Okay. Well, that'll be interesting. I don't know what he means by that. This is totally just me being a nerd and listening to too many podcasts, but I hear a lot of people talk about mind palaces.
Yeah.
And so when he said palace, and then he's talking about looking into Ash Tyler's brain, I immediately thought mind palace. But that is not what that means, so it's probably not what he's talking about. A mind palace is like a memory technique.
Yeah, I think he's actually just referencing stuff in the future.
Okay. I mean, he has knowledge. He obviously sees through Vok's disguise. And he's, in the past, made comments that reference things from the alternate universe. We haven't ever seen him reference the future, I don't think, right?
I'm not sure. Like, when he called Tilly Captain, that was kind of the future, but also kind of the...
Yeah. Maybe he's just referencing the alternate universe. To me, what is interesting is, what does he know? Does he know future things, or does he know things that his alternate knows? Does he know? Because he seems to be like drawing information, but the Vogue stuff has nothing to do with the alternate universe. What is the mycelium network telling him? How is he reaching? Is he just reaching into all tendrils of space and time and can know anything, or is he? I would
think so. Yeah.
Okay. I still haven't seen evidence that he looks into the future yet. But we'll talk about more in the spoiler area.
I feel like within this episode there's evidence.
Okay.
To say that, when he's telling Culber, be careful, the enemy is here, he is specifically saying, like, in whatever way he can, whatever limited way he can, suss out, dude, watch your back.
Sure.
There's a Klingon around.
There's also the possibility he's not even talking about Vogue. Oh, gosh. Am I spoiling by talking about Vogue?
No, that was unveiled in this episode.
I mean, we know something went on, but do we know it's Vogue? We just don't...
he said the prayer in Vogue's voice, man. I think it's all right.
All right. Well, I'm going to put at the beginning of this episode that I talk about some things I'm not sure about.
I'm telling you, Culber... they didn't say, hey, my name is Vogue, but
no,
Culber was like, hey, your body has been drastically changed. You are a Klingon.
Right, but
I think he spoke in Vogue's voice.
Yeah, but Vogue's voice is just a random Klingon's voice as far as I'm concerned.
I completely disagree. It is very specifically Vogue's voice. That raspy Vogue voice.
I don't know if he can see in the future or the past or what, but he can definitely see things that others can't see. That's all we really know.
Yeah, I think he can see into the future with but I think it's all jumbled to him in a lot of ways.
Sure, I think so too. I have a theory on what he can see, but I think it's predicated on stuff that we don't. It's later in season 1, so I'll talk about that in a minute. Who else we want to talk about this episode? MVP for me is Captain Killy.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to write some of her quotes down for the quote section, but I just decided in the quote section I would just say everything Captain Killy said.
My favorite was, well, let's not keep these assholes waiting.
I love that, too, because there was no one there for her to be putting that on, so she was just she was half practicing, half just enjoying being that person.
Yeah.
So, I loved her having to embrace being a completely different person.
And I loved, it actually gave us a little insight into her relationship with her mom. When she, looks at herself in the mirror, she's like, my mother would approve.
By the way, the mirror special effect they use,
yeah,
that is super good. And it's not I don't feel like it's nearly as easy as it seems like it would be. Like, I started thinking about how you would shoot that, and I was just like, that seems incredibly hard to shoot. Like, having someone move in the exact same way, but filming them from the same side, but flipping it, but it's not an exact... it just seems like it'd be way harder to shoot than you would think.
Yeah, it does seem that it would be.
So, I don't know. There may be some clever way they're doing it, but I was like, is she doing the same thing twice and just having to really try to mimic herself in time? Or are they shooting it at the same time with different angles or cameras? Is one on a green screen, and are they both on a green screen? I don't know, man. It looked really good.
Yeah, it looked good.
Good special effects on this show.
Yep.
All right. Thanks for your input.
What do you want me to say? Yeah, okay, it was a mirror effect. All right, cool.
Yeah, but it's a holographic mirror, and it was really good. It was really good. It was. Sometimes they do things that don't seem like that hard, and then I think about, I don't know, I often try to think about how you would shoot something, because I like to shoot things from time to time, and that just seems like it'd be very difficult to make a version of yourself look like it is standing in 3D space while it's doing exactly the same thing, but inverted.
Mm-hmm.
It's very...
I get it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
That's, yeah. I apologize for not having the scintillating conversation you cooked up in your own imagination before mentioning this.
Yeah, I apologize for expecting too much from you as well.
We've been friends since we were like, 5 or 6?
Yeah.
I think I've proven myself over and over again that you can't trust me with those kinds of things. I mean,
it's
when
true.
you barrel through a conversation in a one-sided fashion and say all of the things there are to say about the things that you brought up, there's not really a whole lot to say if I agree.
No, you're right. I am pretty much, I do say everything that needs to be said.
You are a barreler, yeah.
I'm a barreler. It's true.
And that's the kind of conversation you don't get from people who have been friends for 30 years.
What kind of conversation?
The conversation we just had.
Sorry, I wasn't listening.
Oh, that's okay. I reiterate, that's the kind of conversation you don't get from people who haven't been friends.
I understand. Who haven't been friends. You said who have been friends, and that's why I was confused.
Oh, no, I changed it the last minute.
Oh, okay. All right.
I changed it for this time.
Oh, okay. But that time
made more sense.
We're really in the weeds here. Let's get on. Get on back on to Star Trek.
I've just made some decisions about our relationship.
All right. So, the biggest thing, I think, the novel idea. I'm trying to look at all these episodes and the novel idea. Like, what is the thing that they were doing on this episode that I haven't seen explored before? And I've seen this explored more in the books than on the show. But is the actual culture of the Terrans. The kill or be killed. I know that it's been there since the beginning, but like really exploring the psychology of what it is to be a Terran and what creates a killie versus what creates a tilly. Mm-hmm. And what I like about it is that there are qualities in a killie that killie is jealous of. That harder environment created a more powerful, assertive person.
Yes, but I'm like, what's her face? Burnham. I've forgotten the names of the characters. Burnham, points out that these people are fearful. And if you jump back, and I'm sorry, spoilers for Enterprise. If you jump back to the first mirror universe of Enterprise, and we go all the way back to where the universes diverged. They diverged when the Vulcans landed. They diverged at first contact. When Zefram Cochrane walks up, and instead of shaking the Vulcan's hand, he pulls out a gun. He lets fear make his decisions for him. I guess Mirror Universe Cochrane didn't have Riker and LaForge telling him what to do. Or maybe he did. Ooh, I'd like to go back and look at that. But, yeah, so I think these people operate by fear. They let fear guide them more than anything. That seems to be the overriding theory in canon as to why the Mirrorverse became what it did.
Fear versus what is the driving force behind the Federation timeline?
Hope and intellect, I would imagine. I don't know.
Right. Hope. Yeah, hope is a good one. Hope, optimism. I mean, like, these are all, a lot of them are sort of similar terms that are along the same lines. You got fear, but you also have hope and intellect and optimism and love and, like, caring about other people, like all this stuff that kind of the Federation ideals are built on.
Overall wokeness.
Right. The good of the many outweighing the needs of the few.
Yeah.
Like that's a big deal. Because you, in saying that concept of the good of the many is a very egoless concept, because you're in that is built in the idea that you are not more important than other people. And I think that's kind of an important part of that.
There's also a very strong theme of family. You know, the good of the few outweighs the good of the many, as we saw in Star Trek 3, where, like, they pretty much sacrifice their careers to go and save their friend.
Right.
Like, that's important too. Like, it's not like there are no hard and fast rules about this. You can't just say the good of the many is like the end all be all, because a family came together and said, no, we're going to go save our friend. I think that's also really important to the Prime timeline and how those people operate.
Sure. Yeah, I think so.
If you go too hard line, good of the many, you get Lorca.
Do you, though?
Yeah,
I feel like we have to talk about it in the
Well, if you look at the
last...
if you look back at the last episode, the one
Right.
before this one, where, you know, Culber's saying, you know, this is basically killing Stamets, and Lorca says, the fate of trillions lies with this. Keep it going.
Right. No, I'm with you. Obviously, there's a line, and you can cross that. Mm-hmm. But there's also something he said, like the example you talk about with going to save Spock. It's more about, I would say, if they all were dying to bring Spock back, maybe that's a decision they wouldn't make. Like, there's a decision of, like, careers aren't worth a friend's life.
Right.
My career isn't worth... All of our collective careers aren't worth a friend's life. And so that's to me, that's more of like a life, and caring about our friends' life is more important than the pursuit of our own careers. Like, that's sort of the ethic there, more than the needs of us. Needs of him outweigh the needs of us, you know. It's more like the specific needs are important, I think, in that case.
Yeah.
Like, when Spock trades his life, it's literally trading his life for lots of lives. He's not saying, I would die so the rest of you can go on and be successful in your career.
Yeah.
So I think there's a distinction there. And honestly, I don't necessarily think Lorca's wrong.
I don't either. Not necessarily.
In that last episode, if that had really stopped the war and saved millions, then maybe it was worth doing. The problem is things that we'll talk about in the spoiler section.
What spoiler section? We've already done that.
Oh, that's right.
The whole
that's
episode is a spoiler section.
To be honest, technically, when I gave that little thing at the top, I said there's some things I talk about that might be spoilers. If we go full on into spoilers, we might as well just say we're going full on into spoilers. So let's just do that. Are there any characters you want to touch on in the non-full season spoiler section?
Oh gosh, Not really. They were all pretty spoilery. And did you want to do any kind of trivia or
Yeah. Let's do quotes and trivia.
I don't really have quotes.
I have a couple.
Sure, go for them.
My favorite was when Captain Killy shows up on the view screen, and Lorca's just simply says, "That's absurd."
Yeah. That was pretty great.
I loved it so much. And another great one word or like one line thing from Lorca is and just showing how badass he is when they're on the turbo lift, they're about to walk into the bridge for the first time, or no, they're walking onto the bridge to speak to the Captain Connor, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And they walk onto the bridge, but right before they do, Lorca just smashes his face twice against the turbolift door, causing blood to splatter everywhere. It's almost subtle. He goes, poof, poof, and he says, "Showtime." I love it so much. It's so good. I almost didn't know it. I had to rewind it because I just heard like a smashing sound and had to rewind it. He's smashing his face on the door and then says, "Showtime." So, yeah, that was just Lorca being Lorca. It makes me really hope we get more Lorca in season 2. but we'll talk about that in a moment. What's some trivia you got for us?
This was the first episode of Star Trek directed by Jonathan Frakes since Prototype from Voyager in '95. It was the first episode, I point out. He also did, First Contact and Insurrection, the movies.
Yeah. Two of the best, I would say the best of the Next Generation crew movies.
Yeah. I mean, by default, yeah.
I think they're the most consistent. I think Generations is great, but it's not just Next Generation, so I don't know if that counts. But
yeah,
I guess there's only 3, so
yeah,
it's not like
I mean, unless you count Generations.
Yeah. So not counting Generations, which
I don't consider Generations an original series movie.
No, I don't either.
Necessarily a Next Generation movie.
It's a crossover movie.
Yeah. In case anyone was interested, the show's producers did run Culber's death with GLAD to get their approval, because they didn't want to invoke the bury your gays criticism. So if anyone complains about it, like, you killed one of the only gay people, GLAD approved.
That I think that I'm all for showing relationships of all types on whatever, all these shows. It's totally fine. But the idea that you have to check with any political arm of any organization before you kill off a character is insane.
Yeah, I think it's real dumb. Real dumb. Yeah.
And they treated I think this relationship has been treated very well. It's very it's very touching. I buy them together. It's not a shallow relationship. It's not a stereotypical relationship. They are just two people who love each other, and it's fine.
Yeah.
It's great. But having to check with GLAD before you murder one is insane.
I agree, yeah.
Anyway. All right.
I'm a big fan of creativity.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Any others?
Let's see. Oh, one of my favorite moments is Lorca doing the Scottish accent as the Discovery's engineer.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
That was a nice little nod to Scotty.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me wonder if Lorca knew him.
Oh,
or
right.
if it was just the old trope of Scots being engineers.
Yeah.
Because that's why Roddenberry made him a Scotsman, is because there's that stereotype.
I did not know that was a stereotype. That's funny.
Yeah.
It's funny that Star Trek has persisted that stereotype. Mostly Star Trek tries to break down those sorts of assumptions about race. In the case of the Scotsman, it made it forever that we will think of Scotsmen as engineers.
Yeah.
Into the future we go with Scottish engineers.
I think Star Trek has probably inspired more Scotsmen to become engineers than were actually engineers originally.
Maybe so. All right. Cool, man. Well, great stuff. Thanks for bringing those trivia pieces.
Yep. They all came from Memory Alpha.
Yeah. Memory Alpha, great resource if you're a Star Trek fan who wants to dive deep. All right, well, let's have a quick spoiler section then. So we're going to talk about the full season 1 and how this episode relates to that. All right,
Sure.
I'm finally unchained. I think that what we're getting, based on Stamets seeing himself in the mirror in that one episode, and seeing that his mirror self stay where he is, I think what Stamets is having is he's having like a psychological connection with his other. And
I think that is part of it, yeah.
I think when he says the enemy is here, watch out, the enemy is here, I think he's talking about Lorca. I don't think he's talking about Vogue. I think it's a coincidence that happens. I think he is seeing Lorca for who he is. And because he knows Lorca in the other universe, and he knows the palace because he has seen he works in the palace, so it's a terrifying place that he doesn't want to be, and he like you said, the Terrans operate out of fear, and he's been like feeling his other's feelings, and he's like, stay away from the palace, stay away from the palace. This is all, I think, foreshadowing stuff to come. I don't think it's like all this stuff is foreshadowing stuff to come that his other knows about. That's my theory.
Okay. I mean, is your theory based at all on the memory of the first watch? Because I don't remember.
No, it's not. I do remember that his other lives or like works in the palace, because once I think it's like once Burnham and Lorca go there, I think it's Burnham meets the Mirror Stamets, and Mirror Stamets helps her or something like that, or Killy or Tilly or whatever. I don't know. They meet Mirror Stamets, if I remember correctly, in this universe.
I thought Mirror Stamets was outside of space and time and hung out with our Stamets outside of space and time.
You're right. That does happen. I
don't remember him being in the palace.
I think I remember when he like wakes up, he's in the palace. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm misremembering. I think he lives in the palace, or like works in that big compound that is the palace, like that huge base that the Emperor works on. I think he like works there. I may be wrong though. I may be just like completely making that up.
But I also think that our Stamets is connected with everything. I think he is referring to Vogue and not Lorca.
I like it better if it's referring to Vogue. I do, because I think it's poetic when he says it after he dies. You know.
Yeah.
And if he is talking about Lorca, it's kind of like, well, whatever.
Yeah, I wish that I had a better memory.
Right. These spoiler discussions would probably be more effective if we knew what happened.
We have vague remembrances of what may or may not have happened. Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing if I remember things correctly.
Yeah, for sure. I enjoyed how Lorca was obviously like, he almost protested too much. Like, Saru says, well, that's convenient. And he's like, I would say it's inconvenient, or something like that. Or no, he says fortunate, and he's like, I would say it's very unfortunate, first officer. I didn't mean to send us here. And just at this point, we don't, the crew and the viewer doesn't know that Lorca did it on purpose, and it's just really, it's funny how much he's like trying to stay under the radar.
So you had a question earlier on in our rewatch about if we knew the fate of Prime Lorca,
right?
And the way they describe the Emperor destroying the Baran makes it sound like it probably happened in the same place, and Mirror Lorca and Prime Lorca switched places. And since quote unquote Mirror Lorca is presumed to be alive by the Emperor, I would assume that the Prime Lorca is alive in the Mirror Universe, subsisting in some way. Right,
he's on the run in Mirror Lorca's place. And did they describe how they swapped places at all?
I don't think so. I think I don't think so in this episode. No.
Okay.
It hasn't been revealed that he's Mirror Lorca yet. So.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see how he even got to our universe. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like some kind of like explosion at the right time.
Sure.
Between universe at the same place.
Mycelium. You got all this mycelium on the ship. I'm assuming they have a mycelium engine as well. We don't know for sure.
Yeah, we don't know. That was the Baran, so it wasn't Baran.
Oh, you're right.
It wasn't Discovery, so
you're right. Yeah, it could. I was thinking it might have something to do with Prime Lorca dealing with all the mycelium stuff. But no, he would have been on the Baran as well at that time. So
yeah, they were both on the Baran.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious because right now we know of they're trying to discover how the Defiant traveled, and they're trying to discover, and they've learned how the mycelium network can get them back and forth. But obviously, there's some third way that Lorca did it the first time, and we just don't know what that is.
It might be. I seem to recall like a place where the universes are kind of thin, like if you look at the Stephen King books, like Thinnies, where like places where the universe runs a bit thin or something. But
okay,
I don't know. I don't know. They may have even mentioned an ion storm or something similar to what happened in the original series.
Right.
But I don't know. I look forward to watching it and seeing if they give me a tangible, not really tangible, but a good
an answer,
a good basis for theory, at least.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, that's the two big things. Any other spoilers that we kind of didn't avoid? I guess the Voq and Ash Tyler stuff. Yeah. This is the episode we finally get the explanation for how Voq was turned into Ash Tyler. And that Ash Tyler's personality is just a personality sitting on top.
Yeah, I felt like that was a lot of hokum.
Oh, for sure. It's like psychological technobabble.
Yeah, it's like, well, we were looking for any underlying
personality engrams,
personality traits underneath your memory engrams, but there have been talks about it being layered on top instead. I'm like, this is all horseshit.
Yeah, it was definitely. Yeah, it seemed like horseshit.
Memory engrams? What is he, Data?
Yeah, that's memory engrams is like a Android thing. It's weird that they have that. I don't know. It's weird.
Whatever. It's the future.
Yeah, it is the future. The future.
Yes, people have memory engrams.
All right. Well, that's all I've got to say about that episode. I liked it. It was good. I'm excited about all of the Mirror Universe stuff. It's a lot of fun.
It absolutely is. I love the Mirror Universe.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. We'll be back real soon with the next episode of Discovery, and we're like 5 episodes away from this being done with our rewatch, and only like 2 weeks away from new episodes.
Yeah, we're going to have to haul ice.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. So stick with the feed. These will be popping up real often over the next couple weeks.
Haul ice? It's haul ass. What the hell's wrong with me?
I don't know. I thought you were going for like a ice, like a accent. I wasn't going to question it. That
was weird.
I was just yes-anding and moving through.
I think there must be a different personality engram on top of my positronic relay or something.
You got some sort of an ice engram.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Peace.
Live long and prosper.
To reach out to us, hit us up at StarTrekUcast.com, at StarTrekUcast on Twitter, Star Trek Universe Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. Just search for us there, or send us a message at StarTrekUcast@gmail.com. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Robertson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv. And if you want to hear more from Matthew Carroll, that's me, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or go listen to my music at MatthewCarrollMusic.com or anywhere you get music. But yeah, I don't know. Vogue, or Ash Tyler. Let's start calling him Ash Tyler. Stop calling him Vogue. Fuck.